For many years, I was part of a profession notorious for breaking bodies down. It led me to find foundation training where I fixed my own injuries and began teaching others how they can do the same. I've decided to go on the road to gather stories of resilience and overcoming the odds, reminding us all that we're on a road to wellness.
Get out of bed that next morning. I see a doctor, some epidurals in the back that he tries, doesn't work. So I elected myself for surgery.
The diagnosis was 3 pretty severely herniated cervical discs, at least 4, 5 opinions, and every single one of them said in some way, shape, or form, you need surgery.
We're gonna connect with D. Wade so you guys can finally meet him. We'll do some training together. It's gonna be awesome. 96, 99, 100.
Hey fellas, didn't know you guys were gonna be here today. Just in my 7th 100th rep warm up, whatever. Yo, what are you guys here for? What's going on, man?
Longtime friend of mine. We were firefighters together. He's a foundation training instructor. Has a heck of a story of a back injury. Introduce you officially to Daniel Wade.
Welcome to Florida Flow Sesh.
Yeah.
Today we're gonna be doing a little bit of a flow, some foundation training, and we're gonna hinge at that front left hip forward like we're gonna drop a ball off the edge of a cliff. Take the left hip to the inner side of the right on the rotation. Elbows come together ever so slightly. Squeezing the forearms together nice and tight. Go ahead and lift them away 3 times. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background?
I had a back injury that I actually had surgery for. I was training for a fight. Shot a double leg, missed, slipped on some sweat and felt my back kind of pop. Continued to train the next morning after the fight, which I lost that fight, which was like my last fight ever. Like I was done. I was an old man. I was like 24, 25. I couldn't get out of bed that next morning. I see a doctor, some epidurals in the back that he tries, doesn't work. So I elected myself for surgery. So when they were in there, we're doing the microscopic surgery, they didn't really see as much as they thought they saw in the MRI. Never got to a root of a problem. I think it was a lot of my psoas, QL, hip flexors, glute medius that was seized up really bad over continuous poor mechanics.
And for anybody dealing with that out there, what advice would you give them?
There are other routes, and this right now proves it. And there are a multitude of exercises, movement classes, like foundation training, that will help alleviate the true cause of the problem.
So often we blame the sport, we blame the moment, and we don't realize that that was just the catalyst that pushed it over the edge. What's the difference in how you train now versus 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
I had to rewire my body how to hinge under a load. Foundation training and the hinge is an unloaded deadlift or a low bar back squat. So we started on Mark Rippetoe's linear progression program.
Very gradual.
It's a linear progression, and by a year and a half I was squatting 365 for reps, pulling 425 or 435 for reps, and overhead pressing 220, and I was a stupid strong. I had no problem with pain.
That took time, dedication, and being okay with the process. Let's talk about the sauna. There's a lot of popularity around it. Dr. Rhonda Patrick has talked tons. She's cited the articles. You can find those. I love it from a detox standpoint. I love it because it leaves me feeling awesome when I use it. Reminds me a lot of the ice bath, and it brings my heart rate up. Not doing a whole lot, so if I had a day where I'm already pretty beat down, or maybe I've injured myself, thrown something off, I can do some foundation, sit in the sauna, and have a complete reset. At that time, I don't know about that. Whoa! Wanted to get out about 15 minutes in there, made it to about 28. The mental aspect of pushing through when you're really, really uncomfortable, calming the breath, bringing that practice into play, for me is what it's about in a healthy detox. Well, we made it down to the south, so I'm going to introduce y'all to Argo. This here's Argo. I was living in Argo for about 2 years. Well, I figured out where I was going, working on foundation training. Come on, let me show you around. If you're gonna come inside, please take your shoes off. Originally built by one of my firefighter buddies, Brian Mathis. He was gonna help me build one, and then he just offered to let me buy it because I could stand up in here and he can't. It's time to get COVID tested. We just passed our COVID test, GC and I both. We're cutting straight across the state of Florida to go catch up with my friend Seychelle. It's piping hot, so we've been on the road for about 5 minutes, but the key to every good road trip is a hot cup of coffee. So we're in Melbourne Beach, guys. I'm joined by my friend Seychelle.
I've been pursuing a career in stand-up paddling. Worked really hard at it. I soon became top 10 in the world and then top 5 in the world, and then last year in 2019 I actually finished off as the 2019 stand-up paddle world champion. In 2019, the year I became the world champion, I also suffered a traumatic spinal injury, which is the reason that you and I became connected.
You were world champion, you're crushing it in your sport, and you have a major injury. I want to know about the injury, and I want to know the nitty-gritty of the process of navigating it.
Actually, at the time when I got injured, I wasn't the world champion. It was the year that transformed my career and elevated me to the place, to the athlete, to the person that I needed to be to become the world champion. Went from an attitude of why me, why now, I'm at the peak of my career, to I am learning so much from this, and I couldn't have accomplished what I accomplished last year without it. I literally pushed myself to the point where I broke. I was pushing myself through pain for a long time, all messed up, you know, ages before that. There was just a moment, actually just getting out of bed. The diagnosis was 3 pretty severely herniated cervical discs, at least 4, 5 opinions, and every single one of them said in some way, shape, or form you need surgery. It's not if, but when. You can't sit, you can't lie, you can't sleep, you can't move. And there's no like exact do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. You have to figure out what works for you. And I wasn't using my body the way that it was meant to be used. I need some advice, I need some help. What brought me to foundation training was that so many of those people who reached out in response when I asked for advice responded foundation training, and then another, and I was like, okay, like I get it, like I got the message. It was one of the most integral parts of my recovery process, learning how to use my body properly. I still love foundation training. I still do it every day in some way, shape, or form, and it's still a part of my recovery process on a day-to-day basis.
We're gonna go through some of Seychelle's favorite exercises before she gets on the paddleboard. This is your warm-up. We're gonna start with a founder. Now let's one time spread the floor apart, push the heels away from each other as you pull the hips up nice and tall. Now we're gonna lower the back heel, and we're gonna start our 10 pulses, slow and controlled. It begins to rotate, the upper body responds and follows, and then we trace the bow. Shake it out. That was awesome. Thank you, Seychelle. You guys, look her up. That was her flow for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for the time.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. If you want to try the workout or watch the full interview, click the links. You can find all of our guests in the descriptions below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.